All right, you guys, we are live back once again. Living and doing business in Africa. This time is traveling and investing in Ghana. We're brother Bomani Tyehimba. I actually met Mr. Himba. Let me turn that off. I actually met brother Bomani a couple years ago. We did a panel together on just traveling and African Americans going back to Africa. So, brother, is glad to have you on. You by far are very knowledgeable in regards to traveling to Africa and Ghana, to be specific, and also investment opportunities in other different projects that are taking place in Ghana that the diaspora can partake and participate in. So I'm glad to have you on. And then if you just want to give people, tell people your background and what made you want to get involved in, reaching out to Africa and traveling to Africa and investing in Africa, please go into that as well.
Yes, greetings, Brother Dinas. Amir, appreciate your energy. And yes, we did that. We did a nice little conference for the African Community Center. A year, 1 to 2 years ago. I don't remember the.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it was good to meet a fellow brother that's have a passion for want to see us connected in Africa, and that's I've not really seen a whole lot of our brothers and sisters that's really into that path, especially at a younger age. But over the years, once I moved down here to Atlanta area in 2001. I started learning about the roots and the culture when I was about in my mid 25. But when I was about 25, we started these study groups, me and my peers, and our goal was to learn about our roots and culture. And this was like early 2003. So based on just the study groups and reading some of these heavy books, Dr. Ben, reading The Destruction of a Black Civilization, books dealing with us connecting into our Africanness, studying Marcus Garvey, all those have transformed to where it built an energy for myself to wanting to travel to Africa. So in 2004, that's when I got my opportunity. I went to Senegal in March of 2004. Then I paid for a trip to Egypt with Dr. Renoko Rashidi. And that was May of 2004, and that really built my foundation. Egypt showed me the greatness. Senegal, that was my first dungeons I've been to, and I swear, once I went to Gorée Island and learned about what happened to our ancestors, it shook me up. I was never the same. The person that people know now is the person from that point on. So for the last 13 years, that mission has built on to where I found a special country, Ghana, which reminded me of my roots in Jamaica. And Ghana basically had everything I felt to where we can share with our brothers and sisters what happened to our ancestors. The connection to Elmina and Cape Coast Holocaust Dungeon, but also the Pan-African movement in the 1950s with Nkrumah and his group that led to independence. And that profound connection in Ghana also built that energy. The Ashanti Kingdom, just going to Kumasi and learn about a powerful kingdom that have stand the test of time and still one of the most cultural, ethnic group in the African continent. So I just felt like Ghana was ideal for me. Ghana became the 6th country that I've traveled to. I've traveled to a total of 9 countries, and I can give some of the other ones: Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Togo, Benin, Gambia. But when you're trying to develop a program that you want your brothers and sisters to respect, you have to really just take it to a whole different level. Because I even remember in the first set of years we were talking about going to Africa, doing these initial tours, and a lot of times you're working at the airlines and your associates, they're open to taking like 3-4 days getaway. But over the years I realized that we need to really build a program. So in 2006, I built that program to take us to Ghana. In December 2006, it was 8 of us initially. And then the following year, it was October 2007. That was the biggest group that we have had since this time. It was 42 of us. I basically went to work in the last 10 months from my first Ghana trip and reached out to a lot of people, got on the radio with all the connections I have. And that really launched the flow of what we have today, 10 years later, as Africa for Africans Tours and Investments, where we have some solid itineraries taking people to Brazil, as you can see the shirt I have on, and, Ghana and Ethiopia. So I've just came back from all three of those countries within the last 2 months. Ethiopia and Ghana 2 separate times in May, and then Brazil last July.
Right.
And all of this connects into from anywhere from what happened to our stolen African ancestors, and also Black Power and nation building. So you think of Ethiopia as that Black Power nation building country. You think of Ghana as that country where your ancestors were stolen from. You think of Brazil as something that you see that's where majority of the stolen Africans were taken. But then you look at a country like Brazil, you see that it's all mixed, no racial, no racial integrity. It's just all this multicultural society, which benefits the white Europeans, especially the Portuguese, which still have a profound domination on Brazil. Mm-hmm. So all of this moving around really gives you a world-class view of what's going on with our people and what we need to focus on. And altogether, my travel experience from when I was 18, 19 in the Navy to now 39, 20 years, I've been to 6 continents and 33 countries. Wow. And Brazil was that final connection. And most of the countries I've been to, especially of the last 10 years of being conscious, I've really took it to a different level to really want to learn more about what's going on, to where I can share and connect my brothers and keep building this program we have called Africa for Africans Tours and Investment, which is the most important part of our program. It deals with repatriation. After traveling around the world, I realized that we as Black African people have to build a base of power for ourselves in Africa so we can have something. When I'm in Brazil, I'm looking at the homeless people, that's us, looking at the people that live in the hood, looking at the people who are not getting the jobs, and so on. And it's like a world-class madness. So, you talk about the African continent, maybe about 95% all Black African people, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But that's the only base of place where continent or place where we can really develop something for ourselves, because everywhere else, be prepared for people to fight. We're not going to go to Asia and take over or build what we need to build. Same thing in Europe.
And brother, let me cut you off right there. And we talked about this before, especially with dealing with Africa. Asians, Indians, foreigners are allowed to come into Africa, right, and build and develop industries and make money, but it's not reciprocated. Basically, when we go to these countries, we're pretty much ran out or shut out the marketplace and literally ran out. I know you were speaking on you were going into your intro or whatnot, and I'm sorry for cutting you off. Do you think that Africans are just being naive, or do you think they just don't understand the concept? Truly don't understand. They understand and I guess choose to be naive, or do you believe that they just don't understand the concept of economic warfare? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a combination of different things. Me touch on the first thing you said, economic warfare. When you're in the richest continent and you have everything that you need, you don't really have that energy to go out there and take and fight others. Like we have saw with the domination of West Africa, how that was taken over, and the colonial history of slavery. And when we're talking about Asians, most Asian countries are quote unquote rock, not a lot of sustainable land in instance of Japan and countries like China. So Africa becomes that breadbasket. So I feel like everybody focuses on the mineral resources and the access of everything that you need to get anything built and done in the world. So we become the situation where others have to be this slick and try to just come in and do certain dirty things. But it's even not as even simple as that at times, because we've been so divided. So it's not like we're on a common ground of thinking Black pan-Africanism. I guess that's why a lot of us really push back pan-Africanism, because we feel like if we can connect on that, we can really just focus on doing things for ourselves. But yeah, there's a many combination of things. But even more so, the importance of just really just looking at the history of what has happened to our people in every single movement, whether it's integration, whether it's even now where we're being pushed for this whole multicultural society. You know, regardless of whatever we see happen, we're always getting cheated out of what we deserve, to where we end up being the first people with you know, with the worst opportunities, you know, for getting the jobs, for building the factories, or for owning anything in the communities that we live in. So I just go back to Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey talked about Africa for Africans, and saying that we need to build something for ourselves, and that's as simple as that. There's no way we should be thinking about connecting with other people after all of the movements that have gone on through the period of time, to show that we're the ones that have lost out, because we're the ones that keep on trying to open up to other people, and other people make it seem like we're cool, but at the same time too, once they connect with us, they just use us, you know.
Right.
That's as simple as that.
So people, there's an echo. I'm sure it's not on my end. Do you hear that echo? Okay,
no.
That's better. Okay, so people who, when it comes to traveling to Africa, a lot of us, Black people specifically, because I tell people when I go to Africa and I'm in the villages, I see more white tourists than I do a lot of times black tourists. And then I hear the excuses, and this is an excuse I hear continually, since Black people, the diaspora, are everywhere, there is no need for us to travel to Africa. So you mentioned Brazil. I know there's a lot of Black people say, hey, I can go to Bahia, you know, I can go places like Cuba, where there's a large Black population. So they're trying to make it seem as if the diaspora can replace actually traveling to the motherland. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, people actually approach you like that? Wow. And like, wow.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, people don't know the dynamic of the power of the African continent. That's all we have. When everything else falls into the ocean, that's the only thing that will be remaining, the African continent. We just don't know how blessed that we are. But yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, even Brazil. I mean, I have mixed feelings about Brazil. Number one, I had one of the greatest time. I mean, we always have a great time when we do our tour packages, because we always link the roots of the culture. We also have adventure, nightlife, shopping, business, networking, a bunch of things. But the most important thing is that the African connection. So when I went to Brazil, it was to connect our people that have been connecting with me over the years, to show them what happened to the majority of the ships that left West Africa. They went to South America, mainly Rio de Janeiro and Salvador de Bahia, which is what we revisited. But once I went to Bahia, the African culture and presence is there, because when you think about carnival, when you think about samba, or you think about this, anything in that aspects, you know, the clothing, the style, the dancing, the drumming, you know, you as an African-centered man, you know, that's all African.
It's all African.
It's like they add like a Portuguese white folks twist to it, and then they just have this new developed country called Brazil with this multicultural face. But majority of people I met, they're not, you know, like we talk about the Black Pan-African community in America, they don't have that energy, you know, and you do have a few people who consider themselves African Brazilian, but even so, in that, it's just to respect the culture, that the majority of the culture comes from Africa and so on. But it's not something that it's not something that we're really. It's being used to really build something for ourselves, because then you have all this African culture, this African civilization there in Brazil, but it's still whitewashed to where, you know, when I see dark-skinned sisters, they're always with white men. And I learned about that history of, you know, where there was so many Africans there that the Europeans started killing off the men and then importing white men to get with the women, and to the point where they started making a law to where if a Black woman wanted to be anybody or develop anything, she had to marry a white man.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that again, please?
Yes, it's called Creating the Mulatto. This is in Little Africa in Rio. Little Africa represents the part of Rio de Janeiro where hundreds of slave ships posted, and where some of the biggest slave markets were in the world. Once the closing of once slavery at that point, that form was dying out, and women were able to gain their freedom, they weren't able to really establish any business or do anything unless they marry a white man. So by law, it was setting the culture to where Black women had to marry a white man to get anything accomplished, whether to start a business, whether for them to do performance at a club, and so on. And we see, and we talk about how systematic these things are. And that's one of the systematic ways of how all these mulattoes and all this mixed color race of people that's been created in Brazil, to where some of our people go crazy because it's just they went into a country one day and they met a few mixed women and they think now that they're the prettiest women in the world. And I'm like, you guys gotta focus and understand that these mixed breed of people are mixed for purpose of destroying the true authentic culture to confuse other things, especially when it comes to dark-skinned brothers and sisters. So even going to a country like Brazil, it really just put things in perspective if you're consciously open. And you could go there and you could just like, oh, the beaches is beautiful, all this tourist site and all this party and nightlife. But all these things have to literally be connected to clear things up for our people. And even same thing as Cuba and Puerto Rico, when so many white folks are imported to lighten up those countries. And when we look at these countries, you have to go further out sometimes to really see the Black people, even though we're also about the Black people, the majority in the Americas. But when you go to the main cities, it's hard to tell because everything is done to kind of marginalize them and push them out. To where I only saw one brother working at the hotel the whole time I was in and out the country. And there's a dark-skinned brother, and they put him on a night shift. Spoke great English, know how to do business and everything, but it just shows you the level of racism.
Exactly. And how do you respond to people, especially Black people, who will tell you that they're afraid to travel to Africa because of, they might get eaten by a tiger or a lion when they leave the airport. Ebola is allegedly everywhere. And even this, I know Black people, lots of Black people, they will go to, we'll say China. They will allow, and the minute they leave the airport, Chinese people coming up to them, wanting to touch their hair. They'll make excuses for it, like, oh, they probably never seen Black people before. That's why, which is a lie. Take pictures with them. And then there's a story of a brother from Detroit who was in China. Chinese want to take pictures with him. And he's like, no, I don't want to take pictures with you. They started throwing bottles at him and fighting him. But then a lot of Black people will excuse this behavior. You have the story of the brother Bakari Henderson, who was just killed in Greece.
Yeah, terrible.
They'll excuse that behavior. They'll excuse all the racism they face as Black travelers in Europe, and still encourage and want to go. And look at you, people like me and you, crazy for saying, I'm not going to Europe or Asia. I'm just going to Africa or Brazil or whatnot. But then when you tell them, like, hey, I've never faced any racism in Africa. When you come, they'll welcome you with open arms, and they still say, no, I'm not going because of Ebola. Seriously, or malaria. Yeah, seriously, how do you respond to people like that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. One thing about myself, I love the world of technology, and I always, since from 2002, I've always had a camera and a camcorder, whatever is the best out there in the market. And I just record. On all my travels, all we do is a lot of pictures and videos. We put them into documentaries and playlists and different aspects to share them with people as far as the visual documentation. And even when you do that, it's still a little rough. And then the website I have everything laid out in detail. So I've been learning just to be more organized in the approach. But even when you do all these things, you still have a high percentage of your people that just don't get it. And yes, they will still want to go to Europe for a holiday. Like personally, right now, I don't. I've been to England, and Amsterdam is where we catch our connection. England, because I have a lot of my Jamaican family is there in England. My younger cousins and older cousins that we used to grow up in Jamaica, and that's my connection there. And even so, I'm trying to get them to come to Ghana and Ethiopia with me, and let them open up to beyond thinking about just Jamaica, but thinking about that our ancestors were stolen from Africa and brought to the Caribbean, and they should connect to the Africanness. But there's nothing in Europe that you're gonna get. I had a friend saying he's gonna go to his honeymoon in Europe, and I'm in Greece, and I just didn't get it because
Me too. But
number one,
they look at us like we're crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's that if some people that's into that those Greek fraternities and went to certain university and they hear about Greece and France and so on. But when you go there, I explain to people, it's like, what is your purpose and what are you really getting from it? I can explain to people what you get from Africa. You get the rich cultural connection. You get aspects of repatriation investment. A lot of times you go into these countries in Europe, you don't have no investment opportunities. You go to countries like Ghana, you have land investments and a multitude of other real estate investments. You have agricultural development, you have business development. You have also a lot of your own brothers and sisters that used to live in America, like here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, that have repatriated. So now you can connect to a conscious flow of your people in Africa and a flow of your people that are about certain things because that's where they made the move. So that's, and then when you go to a country like Ghana, I tell people we have a whole lot of things on the itinerary. Even from canopy walk to going to schools to nightlife shopping to getting out there networking and socializing, and then some of the incredible sites that's in the country you can go to. But it's like you compare that tropical connection to just going to Europe and spending all kind of unnecessary money for hotels, for food that's not even healthy, and just to be around a bunch of this people that doesn't relate to you or doesn't connect with you, it doesn't make sense. So building the Africa program for the Africa tour program, you put all of these things in base. That way, when you're connecting with people, especially intelligent people, they can make an intelligent decision and say, you know what, I'm gonna get a lot more for my money here. This is culture enrichment. I'm gonna also be able to connect with another 30 to 40 different Black people from different parts of the U.S. where I can maybe build fresh relationships. So over the years, I'm trying to find different ways to work it because our folks come with some treacherous means of just saying stupid stuff. Like when Ebola came, I just really had to make my way into the country and go around the country and document and interview people and letting people know that if Ebola is live, I'll be dead in 10 to 20 days. And if you see me keep recording, see me out, that means it's another white devil trick.
Right. You mentioned repatriation. I think it's been somewhat romanticized. Can you explain the repatriation process? Because I know you have I think Ghana has the right of abode law for African Americans. Can you go into the process of how to properly repatriate? Because you hear all these people talk about I repatriated, and then they don't have a passport from the country that they allegedly repatriated to, or even ID. They just say I repatriate. So we're not talking about spiritual repatriation. We're talking about actual repatriation. Can you go into detail about how the process works?
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to refer to my elder, Ima, because she's been there 30 years. She run an enterprise called One Africa Resort, and it's a health and wellness resort right there in Elmina. And she's been there 30 years, but been in business for over 20 years. And she made the move, the repatriation move, and that was the goal, to become a citizen. But the right of abode has always been there. But then when you ask how many people have gotten the right of abode, it's maybe a few people. So the goal was really for her and the crew of people that went to Ghana in the 80s to build a movement for repatriation and build citizenship. And 30 years later, they have accomplished that. Even though the citizenship law is not really written in the system, the outgoing government selected 30 of the brothers and sisters from the African diaspora that have been doing wonderful works in the country and have gotten their paperwork and everything together. And they was able to get them citizenship. But right now, but that's based on all of the years of us bringing groups there and other people bringing groups and us having these organizations in Ghana and pushing for the government to make this a law. So it's not all the way clear right now, but brother, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime, that any of us would even get citizenship. So we're making certain strides, but I also look at the fact that the African continent have to look at the situation that they don't really want this, any of us in their country, because realistically, when you look at some of our behaviors here, I wouldn't want all of our people in any country, realistically. So they're trying to select people who have certain documentation of commitment to, to be a part of the future of Africa. So I would say within the next few years, it'll be a process to where after living in Ghana for about 5 to 7 years, we can fill out our paperwork and become a citizen. But that's, but Ghana is one of the few countries that I've had that process going. And historically, Kwame Nkrumah was one of the first governments in Africa to reach out to the African diaspora and say that we have land, we want you to come and live and do business and be a part of the future. Same thing with Haile Selassie in Ethiopia. But beyond that, you think about the whole continent. You do have a few other governments that have reached out. It's not really a big situation. But then again, if we look at it, people like me and yourself, we're in these countries. But then when you and I turn around on a plane, we see a majority of white people. When we go to certain sites and certain hotels, same thing. So it really takes us stepping our game up to really make these laws in place. If we show our brothers and sisters in the African continent that we really love Africa more, and it's not just one or two of us, we can get some of these laws changed because it really benefits the future of Africa. But at the same time, too, you have the Asians that are coming in with big money and doing big projects. So a lot of attention is going on them also. So we just really have to, that's why I've been able to deal with many of our people that have repatriated and keep like a tight connection to where the itinerary that's written, you end up going to one Africa, meeting Imicus, you end up staying at a resort. You have a business conference. You have your folks in Africa, and that's what that's repatriated. You have groups of Ghanaian business people that's here to educate you about the country. So the program is really just to really put things in place to where people can get something from it and not assume, and be clear on many aspects also.
So again, on the whole romanticizing relocating to Africa, you mentioned something about as far as getting your citizenship. Like you have to actually contribute to building Africa before they even consider giving you a citizenship. In this case, Ghana, because you hear a lot of people, and I get a lot of questions, and not to shame these people with that asking this. They got $100 to their name. They don't like America, and they want to hop on a plane and move to Ghana. What would you tell that person that has just $100? Who's tired of the system here in America, but believe they can make it in Ghana with just $100 and they don't know anybody? What would you tell that person?
Yes, I'll tell I'll really sit down and talk with that person, because over the years I wanted to be a person that someone can, my brothers and sisters can call and say, hey, I got a small amount of money in my pocket. I'm trying to make a move to Africa. First, I'll let them know that that's not really possible, because countries like Ghana, they're not a welfare state. In America, if you don't have any food, you can at least get some food stamps.
Right.
There, you really have to have your life together, and you really have to have people there in the country that has your back. So the ideal thing is for a few of us to come together, put our resources together, struggle to do what we have to do, make sure we have a little finance, and make sure we have a good game plan for a business enterprise. Even if we're just going to do straight agriculture, at least in agriculture, you can feed yourself, and you can at least use some of the land to build a home. But those things are not possible for people that are doing that. That's why sometimes people look at a tour package and say it's too expensive. But the reality of it is that expense is all of the accommodation, all of the things that you need in a country to get settled. And so it's really no way around it. We live in a country where you have some of the best salaries. I think America and Europe provide some of the best salaries. So, you're here already. You just have to get your hustle on, stack your cash up, and then start putting it in place. The trip is ideal because they lay out everything for you. You get all the connections. As a matter of fact, our friends become your friends, to where when people stay back longer, they stay with the family that have repatriated, and they get another clear experience of beyond just the tour, which is just being on the ground and just enjoying that experience. So it's a lot of things that they have to really work on. And the number one thing they have to clear is their mindset. When you're in the African continent, you have to think about like countries like Ghana. It's not a violent country, so you have to think about this coming into the country and just connecting with people and really just being a part of the future and growth. But you definitely have to have your finance and other things in order, or it's not going to work. Because I've seen many people go and come back, but all of them that have came back is people who have never really put their game plan together.
What challenges would someone face if they wanted to repatriate and move full time to a place like Ghana? What challenges can they run into, do you think? Like the people that came back, what challenges did they mention that they face as far as the move there while they were staying there?
Most of the challenges are finance, and then you're talking about Ghana's a developing country, and some people live in very nice parts of the U.S. and very nice communities where the roads are all paved. All those civilization problems are solved. You have the police here. You have the business corporation. You have the downtown district. You have all those things. When you come to Ghana, it's like you have to be open to being a part of the future and being a part of growing with the country, because everything is not all solved and fixed, and everything is not as simple as where you came from. But it's a different culture, so that's ultimately what they really have to understand, and that they have to understand about what happened during colonization and what happened before colonization, and why Ghana is the way it is, and why the mentality of some people are the way it is, before you just start saying certain things. Just like us as stolen Africans in the African diaspora from the Caribbean and from Black America, there's certain aspects of things that's been ingrained in us to where we have to clear things up before we make a move there. But colonialism and slavery, we have to really be clear on what happened to the destruction of majority of our people through those means, and be able to understand that we have to build that bridge and really to start reconnecting. So most of what you see in Ghana, from what we have done, is just a lot of connections. You have a lot of brothers and sisters from the African diaspora. They're married to into Ghanaian families, and we've merged certain things, and it's like really just coming together and solving our own problems and growing together. So you really have to get into the culture and get connected to the people. You can't go there and expect you're going to be some savior, or you're going to be the person that you feel like you just want to go somewhere far out away from people to where you just have no connection, and you just want to do your thing. So it's a little different. The culture is the biggest thing that people don't really connect with, and they try to get people to adjust to their American culture, which don't make no sense. You're in Ghana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've noticed this though, and I've noticed this a lot when I'm in East Africa and also in West Africa. You mentioned when we go to Ghana, making sure we adjust to the Ghanaian culture and not having Ghanaians adjust to American culture. But I've noticed that Indians, Chinese, white expats, especially Indians and Chinese, they refuse to integrate.
Good point.
into African society. But, they're still afforded all the luxuries. They're not challenged on that. What are your thoughts on that? And is it leadership, African leadership, that's kind of allowing that, or what do you think?
I think the Asians, East Indians, and those who come there, first of all, their connection is for a different reason. Their connection is for more business development and economic setup, and to also provide another portion of land for some of their citizens, since all of those countries are really overpopulated. But the bad situation about this is, we are looking to reconnect to our roots and land and things like that, and they're more for business development. So our connection really needs to be more in the culture. Them, as an example, East Indians, they can build factories to produce their automobiles and things like that there. But they're not looking to do what we need to do. They're serving their purpose, which is this business development. So yeah, but we also need to be on that level too. But our situation is a little more emotional and things like that. So we do see how we're coming in different from they're coming in, but at the same time too, we need to do the same thing they're doing, but we also have to do more, because we're more of us are looking to marry into the culture, as some of them, I'm sure some of them marry into the culture, but most of them are trying to marry into their own. Just like, when you go to somewhere like Jamaica, you see the Asian families there, some of them marry into Jamaica, but most of the time they're trying to keep their own family, trying to get their children to marry their own people and keep their legacy going, but be in an African country where they can have access to resources to send back home and to keep the Asian countries strong. But our mission, is really repatriation. So we need to learn the language, we need to learn the ways of our ancestors and really get fully into it. So that's, you know, kind of see the difference.
And this is probably I mean, I'm sure you can't add the question I'm about to ask now. I'm pretty sure we can't answer it in one setting, but maybe we can. How will we? What do we need to do to or implement to truly develop in Africa for the Africans? You know, you hear this model being spoke on a lot, but what steps need to be taken to truly implement this model or this idea or this concept?
One of the things that I've been pushing with our group since the beginning was we get access to sustainable land and we build communities. Say we get 10 acres and we chop it up into a quarter of an acre, and we all put our share in and get our either small home or chalet or something developed on the property, and we share everything, kind of like the communes that are in Atlanta and also other parts of the U.S. And that's a way where we can, number one, cut the cost of living, because if it's 10 of us and we're looking to make the move and we all just sell our house and sell our belongings, we literally can get access to the land and build like what we would consider a real community where we provide our own water, electricity, internet, and things like that, and be able to really just use more of our resources to build something permanent for ourselves versus being here, just, you know, one household, you just paying like all this money on gas, electricity, water, internet bill, rent, and so on. And, you know, it's set to where all of your resources go. So communally, you put all of that together, you can build communities after communities. And in communities, if you decide that you need a power plant, you can build it. If you decide you need, you need a hospital, go ahead and build it. If you decide you need certain things. And that's what I'm thinking of when we decided that we're going to get land in the middle of the country, Techiman, Bronghafa region in Ghana. We realized that it's far, far, far out, 7 hours into the country. But also we realized that the world needs to be more sustainable. We have too many. As a matter of fact, it's not a lot of cities in the world, but the cities that we do have in the world, you know, like every state sometimes have 2 major cities, and it's just overpopulated. Like in Ghana, the majority of people in Ghana live in Accra and Kumasi, very overpopulated cities. And so I'm always telling people, our future in Africa is something more sustainable where we decide we're going to go out and we're going to use fresh land, build a certain agricultural base where we're eating real food again, and we're just sharing everything. And so that's where I see, you know, going to countries like Ghana can help us.
Yeah. Now, Accra, from my understanding, is very, like, what I've noticed, West Africa, the major cities, is more expensive to live in them versus East Africa.
Wow.
Accra is more of one of the most expensive cities to live in. Mm-hmm. Me, I enjoy the rural countryside and the villages, but at the same time, I have to have access to the luxuries of living in the city. Okay, how far out would I have to go from Accra to have access to, I guess, building, you know, the sustainable land or sustainable home or city like you're mentioning? About how far out would I need to go outside of Accra where I'm just not completely disconnected from Accra?
Oh yeah, you can do 1 to 2 hours. The reason why I decided to do further out is because when you look at Ghana, the bottom half of Ghana, when you think of all of the people that are repatriated, that's where they live at, and the people are doing certain things, that's where they are. So it becomes to where the bottom half is congested. So I'm encouraging people to, like, all right, let's step out further into the country. And since we have a different mentality and we have skills and talents to do things communally and sustainable, let's push that aspect. But yeah, the majority of people that have traveled with us and connected, repatriating, they're in the bottom half of the country. We're literally 1 to 2 hours there in Accra, or 1 to 2 hours there in Kumasi. Where I'm at, we're about 3 hours from Kumasi. Kumasi is 5 hours from the coast, and then Techiman, the Bronghafa region, is another 2 to 3 hours. So you're not that far from anything. And then as airports begin to develop, just like in Ethiopia, you have 20-something airports, and you don't really do a lot of driving from one location to the next. Most of the time you're flying and moving around. The idea also is to bring the access of whatever you have in a city. So example, the most important thing that people like myself need, technology-driven companies, is a satellite. So you build your satellite system so you're in the middle of, just like example, the military bases, and this I learned from just being in the US Navy. the bases that they had were in, even when I was stationed in Virginia Beach, but you think of Virginia Beach as the beach and all this stuff, but their base was so far away from the beach in the middle of nowhere. It's more developed. That area is more developed now, so it doesn't look like as far out. But their idea was always to go further out, even when they have submarines and ships. It's like they have satellite system and they have all of the things that they need to contain themselves: water, electricity, and so on. And it literally doesn't matter where they build their bases at. They just realize that they have to have the infrastructure, and then with that infrastructure, they can run a high technology enterprise in the middle of nowhere. And then have the benefits of not being congested around all kind of people around you, and be able to have some kind of air to breathe, and be able to also have land to do additional development.
Cost. Can you give us an idea of the cost involved if we were to move? Like, can you name, like, what's the name of the city, or name a city like an hour outside of Accra where we could build this sustainable land? And how much money, roughly, ballpark, you know, somebody wants to build we'll say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, you know, maybe 2,000 square feet, you know, and all the luxuries as far as running the water and internet and all that. Like, the idea of how much it would cost if you could put some of a number on it.
If you're talking about if you think about like a 1-2 family place, but what I was really talking about is like 10 acres and you split up. But anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000.
That's it.
And you're communally sharing everything, and then you have to work together to put the money on how we're gonna take care of electricity, water, internet, and things like that. But 20 to 30,000 can get you a 1-floor ranch or a 2-floor, 3-bedroom, and you can use earth bag method. You can also use straw bale. You can use container homes. There's a lot of different sustainable methods, and then if you just want to cut it down to a chalet, which is a hut-style home. For those who are listening, not sure what a chalet is. It's you know, you can make that to like a 1 or 2 room contained unit with a kitchenette, bathroom, and so on. It's kind of like where we stay at in One Africa. That's what you call a chalet, and it's like it's a hotel room, and it's 2 people in the room and everything. But it's like you can even build it a little bigger. So for $10,000 to $15,000, you can have a unit like that versus having a regular house. So you really get to the point where you can build a home structure to live in a communal land, and then be able to share everything and work doing organic farming and so on. So, you know, so it makes it affordable, especially when people are retiring. Their money will go further, because one of the things that we want to provide people, because I'm tired of doing appointments and with my elders, and they're in these high rises, and I feel bad for them. You know, it's like that's not the way you treat your elder. Your elder's supposed to be in a communal society, be able to have the fruits and vegetables on the land, not a bunch of pills after pills after pills. Be able to connect with the younger generation and be able to just be one. And those are some of the things that we're looking to do. It's just taking work. So I do have 2.25 acre of land. That's the start to really work on building and developing. But all these things are things that we've been frustrated with, and realize that let's do this for ourselves. It might take a while, but let's put that time into and develop it, versus, you know, you work in 20, 30 years, then you retire, and you know, they're just taking all your retirement money and so on. So it's something that takes work, but it's something that we have clear vision on, especially since we've been processing this for over 10 years. And a lot of things that need to be put in place have been put in place for us to make moves to the next 10 years.
How many acres, like the 20 $30,000 investment, how many acres would that give you? Or even will it give you an acre?
Yeah, you're looking at $2,000 per acre. This is I mean, let me also give a differentiation of the land. The bottom half of Ghana, you're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 for a quarter of an acre, which is a plot. In Techima, in the Brown Half region, is $500, or I should say more. So it's $2,000 to $5,000 when you're in Kumasi and Accra, for a quarter of an acre, which is one plot, versus 500 in the center of the country and further up. So you end up so for us, 9 plots end up being 2.25, and that came up to like 4,500. Now, if someone needs 2 acres in the city, or out just a little bit outside the city, they're looking at 2 times is a quarter of an acre. Let's do the minimum. If a quarter acre is 200, that means the acre is 800 $8,000. So you're looking at $8,000 versus $2,000 in the center of the country for 1 acre. So it just start adding up after a while. So if you trying to be like somewhere close to Accra and you need a good 10, 20 acres, I mean, it just really adds up.
Someone in the chat, Mellow Musings, had a question. Wanted to know if there are any educational opportunities in Ghana.
Yeah, there's education opportunities in Ghana, but it's up to the individual to reach out to the universities, do study abroad, and also apply for those positions and things like that. And most of what we deal with, everything is all independent, and it's just use independent resources. None of us work any regular jobs or position. We all do business and things like that. So I've never thought about going to Ghana to work for anybody or to have, to do a job. But I do know people who have PhDs that have worked at the University of Ghana. The pay is not bad. It's like $500 a month. The pay is not going to be a whole bunch of money when it comes to countries like Ghana. You're looking at $200 to $500 a month. That's some of your pay range, and then local folks are going to make a lot less than that. So I've always being a technologist, I've always just looked at this, keeping our technology business going and our Africa tour business and doing that. So I encourage people to look at different business needs that they can do in a country like Ghana, agriculture, real estate, technology, business administration, and so on. But it's you going to the country and doing your research really connects you with what you can actually build and get going.
So you mentioned the salary for a PhD professor in Accra is about $500 a month.
Yes, that's correct.
Obviously, here in America, it's close to probably $100,000 a month. I'm not a month, but we'll say about $8,000 to $10,000 a month. In an expensive city like Accra, what can you do with $500?
Yeah, you can you can live with someone else and share an apartment.
Okay.
That may cost you about $150, $200 a month. Because then you're in Accra. I mean, some of the real estate is ridiculous because you have people that live in high rises paying $3,000 a month right in the city, right by the mall. $3,000 a month. So it's a trip because you have people living dirt cheap, $50 a month apartments. People renting up places for $5,000 a month. So the range is there. It's just it's a small middle class and high poverty. But for those who are coming in from the outside, you can do these things. But I wouldn't recommend people spend all this money on rentals. I recommend that they invest in land outside of the city, anywhere from 2 to many hours, and start developing that property. And also reach out to their brothers and sisters to come and live on the property, so they can have more of a communal society. So people can look out for each other, and then you can also incorporate the local brothers and sisters in that community into your village, kind of like our sister did in Benue village in Techiman, to where we are building a society where it's not just brothers and sisters from the African diaspora. It's, we're marrying to the culture, we have people around us, and it's like a real society. So that's what I've been exposed to since I've been going to Ghana, connecting with my brothers and sisters that have done the same thing. And it's been very rewarding for them, and been looking to do the same.
Now, when Kwame Nkrumah was in power, you mentioned also in Ethiopia, there was this pan-African movement or energy that was going on in Africa. Now I feel like as if it died down, as if, African leaders aren't really, the pan-African agenda isn't really on their agenda. Why is that? Or am I just misreading something?
It's wild because the generation of the African, the AOU, African Organization Union was about before they just changed it to AU, African Union. You had pioneers in leadership, man, that led their country to independence. And but the governments after that never really took it to the level that it needs to be taken to. Kwame Nkrumah laid out aspects of the country that needed to be developed. Instead of his predecessors coming and continuing that, they decided to do their own thing. But I think after the independence movement was so powerful, a lot of European countries doubled back and realized that they made certain mistakes, and then they didn't like dominate things as they needed to dominate. So once those first set of governments died out, they realized that they can come in and just run their technology again, and then now we have less credible governments in place that are doing some of the Pan-African things that got us that independence and got us our energy. So it's serious work as far as just all of us are, and it's like, how do we influence our government to represent us right when they have Asians and European governments just throw money at them to just turn their backs on their people. So that's the hard part that people like myself haven't figured out. So we're just trying to do what we can do to make the difference and kind of build that momentum to where we can eventually have things change to where our governments and the African countries focus on us and what we need to do as a people.
Now, when we talk about Indians, Chinese, Europeans investing in Africa, they do it more on a larger scale. As far as Black Americans are diaspora investing in Africa, for right now, from what I've noticed, it's more on a smaller scale. What impact can we still make by just getting our foot in the door and just starting somewhere when it comes to investing in Africa?
Well, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that start is very important because a lot of things are looking to change and grow, and if we don't have a head start, we're going to be lost in that process. Like sometimes we talk about we're the last ones to jump on certain things. So just taking an initial trip will clear things up for them, because our itinerary is based on repatriation and investment, along with every other thing that other people take on our journeys. But getting access to land right now, you can begin to use your resources from your job and start developing that project. Start putting some of your money aside to do the future development. A lot of times, some of us have these good plantation jobs, and we're making this money on the plantation and working for folks and everything. And we're like, yeah, man, I got to get that car, got to get that house, got to get all these things, and we spend it up on all of these other aspects of things, except for developing what we need to develop. Even when some of us have law firms and companies, they're built on land that are owned by other people that we have to keep on paying mortgages and rent. Mm-hmm. So you get access to land in Africa. You pay for you pay for your land or your lease of your land, and you build your business or your enterprise on that land. So now you don't have to be spending all this monthly rent and all these things. So you get in the land. It kind of takes you out of that imprisonment box and give you a reason to live, give you a reason to invest. Because I don't see that we have a reason to live, because the money that we have is going on partying, drinking, socializing. When he thinks about New Year's, people buying bottles and buying this, doing that. So consciously connecting to Africa and getting land and doing those things is consciously saying, you know what, I need to use some of my resources while I'm still making this money and keep developing it. And about 5 to 10 years from now, when my boss decide to fire me, or you decide that he just want to get rid of me and just get another new Negro to replace me and pay him less, and all the things that we get fired for on a regular basis. Being down here in Georgia, I've just known so much of us to get fired for so many things, and it's like, you got fired for that, and it's like at any moment I tell folks, you can get fired for anything, and it's like, they're gonna make sure that they don't put anything in the paperwork to contradict themselves and get them set up. So they're gonna work it. So so all these jobs that we think we got and we're doing well, it's like, just because you saw your brother get fired and you didn't get fired, don't mean that you can't get fired. So it's like, I don't tell people, put it aside and start developing. But if you don't take that trip and build that importance of why you should invest in Africa, we're going to continue to do the same thing. And unfortunately, since we can't save everybody, we just reach out to those who can open a connect, and those who open to write the check to travel on a trip. And because it's one of those things where freedom is not free. So people talk about how expensive it is to travel to Africa, but last I remember, folks, don't stop buying those LeBron James sneakers and all these other shoes that's coming out $300-400 and
Right.
pants for this and that. And I tell people I buy none of that, so I can afford to go to Ethiopia, Ghana, Brazil, and go here, do documentation, do research, and I'm going with a group, so we're covered in aspects of business and things, but you still can't like play both sides of the fence to where you can just spend up a bunch of money and then still want to do certain things. So it's trying to find out what's people's purpose in life, and also trying to give them an added purpose of wanting to connect to the ancestors and tell them that all these things that you do in America, you don't have to do it. You have that salary, hey, cut back and save it. And like for women who like to just go in these Asian parlors and spend all the kind of money on hair and things like that, let's shave your head off. You have thousands of dollars every few months. You know what I mean? And it's a simple thing, but it's like everything takes a little bit of sacrifice, and some of us are willing to do more than others. Like people like myself, I live in one of the greatest party cities, and I do not go out to Atlanta and party. And I'd rather just be in Brazil or Ghana, Ethiopia, and socialize with my group at nighttime versus being out here spending money on parking and buying drinks and being in a club with a bunch of folks who just consciously just are not there. They're just So that's how I look at things, man.
My dear brother, my good friend O'Shea Duke Jackson, he's in the chat room. He wants to know if there are any medical opportunities for doctors, any opportunities for doctors or medical in Ghana, in Accra.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things when you think about, and big up to you, brother O'Shea. You're the man of controversy. And
so you know O'Shea.
Oh yeah, everybody knows O'Shea. O'Shea's that brother that and it's a few of us on YouTube, so a lot of us know each other. I mean, I watch everybody. I watch yourself, O'Shea. I even watch Dr. Umar Johnson, and none of us are gonna agree on that. We all feel 100% about everyone else, but I really feel like all of us can learn from each other, and I'm learning from a lot of people.
Actually, not to cut you off, I actually convinced O'Shea to travel to Africa.
Oh, that's so you went to Uganda?
Yeah, he went to Uganda. I convinced him to travel to Uganda.
Yeah, big up to my brother, man. Big up to him. And that's the thing about we have a unique perspective that's gonna help our people think, because I grew up in Brooklyn, and most of the folks I grew up with, they're still in Brooklyn. And you're traveling all over East and West Africa. I'm traveling all over East and West Africa. O'Shea's in Europe. But let me answer this question directly. O'Shea did a video where he's talking about the majority of all these Ghanaian and Nigerian doctors. They're all in America. So naturally, that and the brain drain, which all of the stolen Africans that are brought to the African diaspora here, we're working in all of these incredible corporations. So then when it comes to Ghana, you're thinking about the doctors and the hospital. That creates a void to where we as a people can say, hey, we can put our money together, build a certain level of hospitals, and then I can reach out to more of my brothers from the African diaspora and also locally to say, hey, let's get you guys employed so we can build a better medical facility. So the level of investment that I'm talking about is really a level of investment where you have to get ready to do ground hard work. But in general, you have nice medical facilities that are looking for doctors from the African diaspora, because so much of their own doctors say they're not coming back because they're making these salaries in America, and somehow they feel like it's best for them just to send money back versus to develop things back. So me personally, I can't judge them for how they work, because I was born in Jamaica. Our family left when we was 11 for economic opportunities in America. And I think some of the Ghanaians look at it that way. And then once they're here, the only difference is once I got here and I built my consciousness, I realized that not go back to Jamaica, but I realized that I need to be in an African country and be a part of the future. So like in the property that we're building in Techima, the Brunhofer region, naturally, you want to build power plants, you want to build a hospital, you want to build, you want to connect with the people and build, be a part of building up schools and be a part of the future. So it's more of like opportunities where you have to get your hands dirty and get to work. But they're there, and they're there mainly because majority of our people who can do things in Africa are here enjoying these nice salaries, these nice homes and community. It's like in North Atlanta, I know so many Ghanaian doctors and engineers are up there, and they're they're impressed the fact that we're trying to build and go to Africa, because they're like, they're thinking about the job, and I'm telling them that you're looking at, you can't always look at the solution of your economic issues of going somewhere and getting a job. You have to look at the aspect also of using your talents and skills. And that's why I appreciate my naval background, because I was able to learn all kind of technical stuff to where I feel like I don't have to work for anybody else the rest of my life. And I can, as long as I connect with other people and we build what we need to build, we can reach out to each other and we can fill those opportunities. So I'm hoping I answered his question with the details, but now the answer directly is definitely yes, but it's more beyond this yes than this yes.
So I'll add this. So when people say I'm looking for opportunities in Africa, I think a lot of time it comes from a corporate mindset, like I'm looking for a job.
Right.
But I think what you're saying and what other people have said is you need to come more with an entrepreneurial mindset when you come to Africa. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like I was explaining about the U.S. military. They go anywhere in the middle of no place and they build a civilization. So it's like we have to think about, and those are the access to opportunities that we have in the world. Just like we think about Walt Disney. They got wetland property in Florida that nobody wanted, and they invested and they built a civilization of one of the most incredible.
You're talking about Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando, Florida, exactly. And these are this example, or even like if you use the TBS Turner Broadcasting Station, he has an old enterprise there. It seemed like a self-contained place where they run all the enterprise and business and everything. So I'm not surviving of the. I didn't initially know how it was going to work out with repatriation and going to Africa over these years, but we're starting to look at things different now. It's like maybe we can really do this, because before we just didn't even know if anybody would travel with us or anybody would be open to it. But a lot of our business people have been reaching out to us, and they're open.
Now, now for those who want to still be a part of corporate America, there are like multinational companies in Ghana. Like I know Johnson & Johnson is there. Of course, I'm sure probably Shell is there. Oil. I would think so. They want a job, they could go there. But for the most part, it's you got to come and build. As far as being an entrepreneur, that'd probably be your best bet.
Exactly. If you work for Coca-Cola here, General Motors, or Delta Airlines, I've met their employees there in Ghana. But the thing of it is, it's a whole different opportunity for you, because you move in there independently. You're looking at many things different. The job thing is just like we talked about before. They can still fire you and let you go and do certain things. So one of the things that they're going to look at after a while, they're paying you this big salary from America. So and this happened to a friend of mine that was working for Delta. They realized that they can get someone else locally and train that person to do your job, and then they feel that let's send this person back to America. We don't want to keep on paying them this big salary. So it gets back to where your really best bet is really to push entrepreneurship. But if you can get in by working for one of those multinational corporations, that's the greatest thing. And use all the resources that they have to get you to move and everything, and then start building something for yourself, because there's no guarantee what's going to happen after a while, especially if you're conscious and they see that, they see certain things.
Now, you do a great job of mixing, I guess, the tourist aspect of those who want to go to Ghana or go to certain countries in Africa, and the business aspect of it. Because, a lot of times people, they want to travel. They just want to go as a tourist, party, drink, chips, and come back. How are you able to mend both, where people can have a good time? Because a lot of times when people travel, they're not thinking about handling business or conducting business. They just want to, in fact, they're trying to run away from work or conducting business and just going to have a good time. How do you merge the two? And how did you make it where people were attracted, where people will find value in doing both?
Perfect. Being in this, once you just join into the land of the African-centered world, and then this Garvey's, your principle of this connecting. You really want to just look at trying to. You're trying to sell a program. People already going to enjoy the nightlife and the partying and the networking and shopping. But at the same time, too, you know, we think about the amount of time that we get on aircraft and we fly somewhere else. And, you know, but then when we look at Asians and other people, they're always in these countries that we're in, and they're doing business and everything.
Right.
So I started looking at aspect of just, you know, how we can mend it all together and make a world-class program to where if someone is a real estate agent or someone is a lawyer and they're coming on a trip, you know, they're into their business people and they're into business and they might be open to getting this piece of land and doing certain things with it. So you're kind of checking everybody's personality, what they're into, and when you have the group that we eventually have, I realized that some people are more interested in living and doing business. Some people are more interested in the African Holocaust, and some people are more interested in just like getting away from their boss, their family, and other people that they just want to have a getaway from. So I just thought it was just a little more unique than the people that were doing the Ghana tours that you know, I interviewed and connected with when they were telling me that they're closing out, because most of them were elders. I looked at what they were doing, and I was like, you know, what's really missing is the aspects of repatriation, and repatriation connects into investments and other things. So let's try to really build a program, and you know, sometimes that's the only way you know if something works, if you build it. So in 2007, we added the investment conference and everything else to the Ghana tour, our second tour, and it really caught on. And I always tell people that we're not forcing you to invest and repatriate, but we're building that energy to give people information that eventually, if we have more and more people checking the videos out and checking what we're doing out, they can think about, well, no, I like Ghana. Ghana is a great country. You know, and then you hear about that you can invest or you can connect into a family. And then for some of the people that are single men and single women that feel like relationship is not what they want in America, they have access of a whole different country, which is very, very cultural in relationships. And you know, so even things like that. I'm not saying that we do matchmaking services, but we always encourage folks, especially single people, to connect and, you know, reach out, and you know, because we're all Black African people, so it doesn't matter where you know, meet your wife at, whether it's in Ethiopia or Ghana. Our goal is to build Black family.
Now, me and you, we have the same mission. Like, we want our people to connect, and we want to build that bridge between the diaspora and Africa. Like, real quick, what ideas or what can we implement or what can we do to truly encourage people when they just to go visit? Like, I'm hearing excuses now that the reason why I don't want to go to Africa is because the travel time is too long. But then I look on your Facebook page, you're in China, and I know traveling from America to China, that at the very least, that's like a 16-hour trip. That's a 17-hour flight.
A lot of money.
You know, same thing with like going to Brazil. Like from, I think it's probably like about a 9-hour flight from maybe Atlanta to Brazil.
They go about closer to 10 hours, yeah. But that's
right, and then you know, then you tell people that hey, you can fly direct. In fact, I'm going to Ghana in November. In November, I have a direct flight from New York City to Accra, and it's like a 10-hour flight direct.
10 hours, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 10 hours direct from New York City to Accra. I'm going in November. What can we do to make traveling to Africa sexy, like traveling to Asia and traveling to Europe and traveling to Central and South America?
That's a $1 million question, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do. But it's just the repatriation investment aspect of it. But I think we accomplished that to a point, and that's why I ended up doing the Brazil tour, because I wanted to give people something more vacation, more sexy, more beaches, more things like that. But I mean, you can add it in, but you just have to adjust other parts of it. So my goal is just to keep on offering a little bit of everything. That way, people they can say, all right, the trip is about 10 different things, and I'm open to these 5 things. So the social life, the sexiness of it is things that we're trying to push based on the videos and the photos showing us socializing and hanging out, showing us having a good time, and showing beyond just the African Holocaust. Because sometimes people get caught into that to where they just feel like, oh, all this is about is just slavery. So trying my best to write these itineraries to make it make it have all of these other aspects of it. But at the same time, too, people have to change their mentality and be a little more open. So that's why we deal with making things as organized as possible, especially from the website to when they call in, just being available to give them all the information and clearing things up with them. And so far for myself, that has worked good. We've had the last 3 journeys I've had has been a busload of people. And last year, October, is 38 of us. This May, it was 26 of us. And coming up in November, coming up for the next journey to Ghana, Togo, and Benin, it's about 36 of us right now.
When are you going to Togo and Benin?
It's November. Ghana portion is November 17th to the 26th, and then from the 26th to December 1st, we're going to be in Togo and Benin. 2 days in Togo, 3 days in Benin, and then the last we drive back to Accra to fly back.
Okay, because I'll be in Ghana. I leave New York City literally, I think, Thanksgiving Day. So I'll be there on the 25th, and then I'll be literally in Togo and Benin in January for the Voodoo Festival. So basically, when I travel, I like to catch the different festivals. So I'll be in Togo and Benin early January. I don't know if you don't mind sharing with people. If someone wants to go with your travel company, can you give somewhat of a preview of a sample itinerary for them, what they can expect?
I'll give you my best itinerary, which is May 2017, the last tour we did to Ghana. You're gonna spend 3 days in Accra at the beginning. The first day you get is the night, so it's literally like 2.5 days. When we first get to Accra, we do a full city tour. We visit the Pan-African history, Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, the Boys Center, George Padmore Library, the Art Center. So you get that full Pan-African energy. And later on in the evening, you're going to get a full 2-hour business and investment conference. A lot of networking with folks that have repatriated. And that's just, to give them that initial when we first get there. And we have another conference towards the end. When we do Techiman in the Bronghafa region, we're doing the waterfalls, Kintampo waterfalls, we're doing the monkey sanctuary. We're going to the Permaculture Institute there. And we're also just visiting more of an ecological part of Ghana. So, in the city, you have the Pan-African tour. You have up in the mountains where you go to the university, we go to the Botanic Garden, we go to the orphanage and things like that. And so the next segment is ecology. Then in Kumasi, you're getting a straight culture to where we're going to go to all the craft villages and people can see how things are made and purchase certain things in this, connect into the craft village itself. Then we do Cape Coast Elmina. So we do an Ascend Manso, so the death march of what happened to our ancestors before they were marching into the dungeon. We go to the last bath, Ascend Manso. Then Cape Coast Elmina dungeons we have later on. We also have a canopy walk. We have another school that we visit. And beyond these daytime itineraries, it's like a full, we have nice, it's not like party, it's just like social nightlife where people can come out, we can connect and have a drink and socialize and things like that. And that's almost every night where we're in a city environment where we can have access to that. If not, then we stay on the resorts, we do cards, dominoes, and socialize. But the full program is set to where where you get your money's worth and you have all of these things available. If you're naturally burned out or tired and you can't make it to a day on tour, then rest at the hotel. Or if you get in the evening and you can't make the business conference, then get your rest. But it's fast paced to where it's a multitude of things available to where you get the fullness of a full journey. And that's the difference between the journey of a lifetime. You get a complete journey of roots, culture, business, nightlife, shopping, networking, ecology, and so on. And then when you're on the website, africafortheafricans.org, I always have a few tours up currently, and then for next year, where once you click on the link, you have a full access to the tour itinerary, tour overview, general terms, what to pack, what to bring, preparation, departure lists, visa information, and so on. So I just really believe in the organizational aspects of things, making sure everything is clear for people to process and read through.
Okay. And we're going to get ready to close out unless any more questions in the chat room. But Brother Bomani, if you could, if there's any closing remarks you want to give, and also too, please shout out all your contact information, websites, how people can get in contact with you who are interested in investing in Ghana and traveling. Please, you go ahead and shout that out now.
Yeah, absolutely. Direct contact here in ATL South is 404-931-9429, and that's Bomani Tyehimba. The website is where we have all of the details, africafortheafricans.org. Facebook page is Bomani, my name, so it's, and then YouTube, youtube.com/Bomani2007. So and that's all my access of videos and pictures. I am on Instagram. I don't use it much. I'm probably one of those strange person, but I don't use it that much. But I can do more with Facebook as far as my marketing. So, but I'm still on Instagram. It's Bomani 2015.
Okay, cool. One last question. What kind of technological opportunities are available in a place like Ghana?
Exactly. My business is dealing with technical support. Ghanaians speak very good English, so that's one of a great business is technical support centers, and also more business administration. But if you want to get into the aspects of satellite technology, and it's a bunch of things that are out there, I'm still trying to get a feel of certain things in Ghana. But my business I have. We're just looking for a space in the middle of the country to set up all the computers, set up everything to where we can connect to our clientele globally to do technical support training, business development, and many things that we have learned in a competitive market here in the last 10 to 15 years.
Okay, and in Mellow Musings, you have Brother Bomani's contact information, so go ahead and reach out to him if there's any opportunities you have or any questions you have as well. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close it. I gotta hit the gym and go eat some lunch. And Brother Bomani, thank you for coming on. Let's get up soon as well. And if there's anything else you want to close out on, please go ahead. If not, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And then search for a Guru Guy. People who are just watching for the first time, the platform, please like the video. Also, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And also go to search for a Guru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Please check all that out. And please do the same for Brother Bomani as well. Make sure you like his page, follow, and all that good stuff. Brother Bomani, is there anything you want to close out on?
No, that's it, family. I appreciate everybody's energy. Check out the website, the Facebook, and the YouTube page. And if anyone have any questions, just reach out to me. This is what we do all day, every day, connecting people to Africa. So I'm looking forward to connecting with people.
All right, perfect. All right, guys. Peace. We're out.
All right, take care, brother. Appreciate the time, and take care, family.
No problem.